I'm on a mission to find the best ETFs that will outperform the S&P 500 over the next 5 to 10 plus years. Now in this video, we're going to be breaking down 6. I found 6 that have been outperforming the S&P by quite handsome margins, and we're going to break them down and talk about each of them individually. Now, whether you're a new investor, a very experienced investor, it's always interesting seeing how things perform, but there is always a different level of risk depending on the ETFs you're buying. So I'm going to give you one key piece of advice at the end of this video that's really important whether you're new or experienced. So I hope you guys do enjoy. If you're interested in ETFs, in growth, and even in some dividends, don't forget to like the video and to subscribe so you don't miss future updates. And let's find out if there are some ETFs that we can use to beat the S&P 500. Fund number 1 is SPMO, the Invesco S&P 500 Momentum ETF. And let me break down why someone would want this ETF. Now, it's an S&P based fund, so a lot of these are going to have overlap with the S&P. So if you already have VU or SPYM or SPY, this may not be the fund for you because you'll have a lot of overlap. But this fund specifically focuses on a momentum index, which has a number of criteria that they use to place stocks into this S&P ETF. And what I mean by that is they all have a momentum score where they're basing it off of projections, off of hype, off of overall volatility, and how the underlying stocks have been performing and what they're anticipating they will do in the future. So a lot of these big names are things that we've seen before, and we'll look at that in just a moment. One thing I like about SPMO is that it's a 0.13% expense ratio, which is pretty cheap, because if you were to try and target the 100 holdings of this ETF on your own, it would be a lot. They're going to be doing the rebalancing for you, and that's why I love ETFs. It's a cheap trade-off where it makes it a lot easier for me to hold a lot of companies that I like, and I get a good performance because of the performance of what SPMO has done so far. Now, scrolling down, you get all the key factors and whatnot. 100 holdings, which is really, really important. ROEs, we get book ratio, price to book ratio, I should say. And you see performance. But we're going to look at this also on a chart at the end in comparing all of these funds. But we can see that the SPMO has outperformed the S&P quite handsomely for quite a bit of time. I mean, if you're looking at the 1 year, we can see SPMO versus S&P, it's up over 5%, 3 years, 10%, and so on and so forth. Now down here, you can see the portfolio, which is NVIDIA, Broadcom, MU, Google, Johnson & Johnson, the other Google, XOM, AMD, and so on. So there's a lot of holdings in here that you may already own, and that's a key piece of information that I will follow up on later. But SPMO, if you're looking for an ETF that has been outperforming the S&P 500 with maybe a little bit more risk because you don't have as many holdings, but long-term, I do think this will continue to outperform, and that's why it's number 1 out of 6 in this video. If you've ever been on YouTube or TikTok and looked at influencers and what they talk about, I guarantee you know this ETF. Ticker SMH, the Van Eyck Semiconductor ETF. And semis have been going insane. This will be the best performer. It's nuts, the performance that we've seen so far. But with that, you also have a lot of risk. Michael Burry, one of the world famous investors who called the 2008 real estate crash, has actually opened a put position. He believes that that semis are going to have a pullback, that there may be a little bit of a bubble. Either way, these things don't care. They just keep moving. It's a little bit of an expensive growth fund, 0.35%, and there's only 26 holdings in the fund. Total net assets is just under 60 billion. So with 26 holdings, you're taking on a lot of risk. It's an ETF, but there is a lot of risk because it's not nearly the size of the S&P 500 or even the NASDAQ 100. Now, I don't own this one. I own a lot of the holdings through other funds, which we'll showcase in just a moment, but I don't actually own SMH. Maybe I should have. I definitely should have with how the performance has been. So you can see they have methodology that favors the largest companies in the semiconductor industry, high liquid companies, global scope, where it's both domestic and US companies. And sliding down, we can see the average return. I mean, it's just been absolutely nuts. I'm not even going to lie to you. They also just crazy bounced because AMD, one of the holdings, went absolutely ballistic, which I have AMD, so I was really happy about that. So you can see the holdings: NVIDIA, TSM, Broadcom, Intel, AMD. Intel has also been going absolutely nuts. Texas Instruments, MU, this one's up 200% on the year, Qualcomm, and so on. So again, only 26 holdings, making this one a little bit riskier than the typical S&P 500 ETF. But I mean, the performance speaks for itself, and it's up to you. This is what you're going to have to factor in. Are you okay with that risk? Are you okay with the fact that you're buying these at premiums? These are all-time highs for this ETF and for the holdings. And if you think they're going to continue, there you go. If you don't, or you're a little bit risk averse, that's up to you as well. But either way, it's a very expensive ETF, $510 per share. So options can be a little bit tough if you're working with a smaller portfolio. Either way, this ETF speaks for itself. We'll showcase the performance in just a moment, and I guarantee it's going to blow you away. Next, we have QTUM. This is the quantum computing ETF by Defiance, and it is my favorite ETF by them by far. It's another one that I just recently purchased for good reason. Quantum computing and machine learning are transformative technologies reshaping the future. It's a very futuristic ETF. And to be honest, I don't even fully understand quantum computing. I understand the basis. I don't know the use cases, but either way, this thing has been running and it's beating the S&P quite handsomely. So, since inception, it is up almost 500%, which is absolutely radical. Net assets, it looks like it's what, 4 billion plus? Based off this is kind of confusing. I don't know why they have it that way, but it also is also important to note it has 86 holdings. So what a lot of these different ETF issuers do is they'll build like a higher risk, lower holding ETF from like the S&P, like, oh, our top 50 S&P companies in this ETF, and they sell it and they make money on the expense ratio. So the expense ratio for QTUM looks like it's 0.4%. This is very expensive. I mean, it's more expensive than SMH. It's a lot more expensive than a lot of the Vanguard funds. And overall, if the performance is there, I don't care about the expense ratio, genuinely. That's not what I'm worried about. I want a solid performance. And if you're a new investor or an experienced investor, I guarantee that's what you're interested in as well. But one thing that's important is make sure the performance is there, because in a down market, or if this has a pullback and you think that there are other ETFs or other sectors or other sector-based ETFs that hold a lot of the same holdings that are outperforming QTUM and they're cheaper, you should go with those. Right now, I don't think there's anything that comes close to QTUM, and that's why I bought it. Holdings. Intel, Nokia, Micron Technologies, MU, we already looked at this one. On Marvel, is this TSEM, Tower Semiconductors. So not a lot of crossover with this one, which I think is really important and a key factor, again, that I'll touch on the end when we use stock analysis to showcase these results. Whether you're a new investor or an experienced investor, I want to showcase my Circle community. And I want to say thank you to everyone in this community. It continues to grow, over 30 members now, which is absolutely amazing. And what I talk about in here is what I talk about in my videos, but a bit more in depth. I give you all of my opinions on the back end, and we have other investors in here at a similar caliber to myself, and some even better, that discuss what they're buying and why. It really is just a place for really serious investors that want to do better and learn more about ETFs, whether they're growth or income, all in one place. So if you're interested, check it out. I'll pin it in the comment, and you can actually find it in the video description. And there is currently a free trial, but that's going to end soon. And there's big things coming in this group that I can't talk about yet. But if you join early, you will be part of the early access group, which will be very rewarding, I will say. So check it out and let me know what you think down in the comments. And let's get back into our ETFs. Ticker XLK is the State Street Tech Sector ETF. And tech was booming, software had a crazy pullback, and then it ran once again. So things are kind of all over the place. And I will say that not this specific ETF, but software companies you have to watch out for, because there's a lot of disruption happening with AI by a company called Anthropic. But XLK, is it going to be impacted by that? We'll find out. This is the State Street Tech Sector. It provides investment results and that before expenses correspond generally to the price and yield performance of the technology sector index, meaning you're investing in tech. You're heavily investing in tech, and a lot of tech that is also carried over in the S&P. So remember to watch for that. Now, sliding down, we can see it's very cheap, 0.08% gross expense ratio, which I love. I love when these companies provide these ETFs and they're not expensive. Options are available if you're an options trader, and it does pay out distributions on a quarterly basis, but it's not an income fund, right? This is a growth-based fund. Lower number of holdings at 73, which I don't really care about. Honestly, 26 with SMH is a little bit low. I like them to have 50 to 100 holdings. Otherwise, I could just pick my favorites and hold them outright. But with that, you have to do a lot of the work yourself. And I'm relatively lazy when it comes to how I invest, which is why I love all of these ETFs. Scrolling down, we can see the market price, net cash amount, all these details. I recommend checking out all of these ETFs individually. Do your own due diligence. You have to look into these if you're going to be buying them, because I'm just a YouTuber. I talk about this stuff and I don't own all of these funds, but I'm watching these funds constantly. But if you're going to be buying and selling these funds, you have to have the reasoning in your brain set up as to why. And that is not based off what I'm saying in this video. So do your own research. I get people talking about that all the time. It's really important. Top fund holdings: NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, Broadcom, MU, AMD, Intel, Cisco, Lam Research, and Palantir. A lot of these we've seen in a ton of these other ETFs, right? I mean, Nvidia is 14% and Apple is 12%. Microsoft almost 10%. If you want to buy those, you can buy them individually, but the ETF does have some pros. Now, I don't want as much carryover, which is exactly why I don't own all of these ETFs. There's too much overlap. I have a lot in the S&P and a lot in the NASDAQ 100, but I do like to give a little boost with some of these higher risk ETFs in my portfolio. This is not going to be a 50% position. It won't be a 10% position. It may be 4 to 5%. And you can go through and look at the industry allocations. All these are key metrics that you should know if you're going to be buying these funds. But this was fund number 4. So I'm curious, out of these 4 so far, which is your favorite? And comment down below as we finalize with the last 2, which of these funds you already own or would buy if you're looking to buy some new ETFs. PPA. This is the Invesco Aerospace and Defense ETF. And finally, we have an ETF that's beating SPY that doesn't have a lot of overlap with it. Now, total expense ratio is expensive, 0.58, probably the highest on this list. But you get a lot within this ETF. One, that diversification, which is key. 61 holdings, again, a little bit more expensive. That's just the way it goes. So performance, we'll look at that in just a moment. It has been very, very impressive. I like a lot of these Invesco funds. I think Invesco, although it is super popular, should probably be a little bit more popular. So the companies that it holds: Boeing, GE, General Electric, RTX, Lockheed Martin, Honeywell, which is crazy. I mean, I will say I was just watching a video by Quiver Quantitative, which they talk about all the insider buying with Congress. And there was a congresswoman who sits on the Defense Council, and she bought Boeing, GE, and she also bought Honeywell. So a lot of these holdings are what she was purchasing. So she believes maybe there's something going on that we don't know about, or something will be happening that we don't know about that might boost a lot of these holdings, which would be unfortunate because they're all, kind of warfare underlying companies, but it is what it is. Insider trading should be illegal for Congress. I'm just going to say that really quick. But the cool thing with this is, again, no overlap. So you don't have to simply hold Nvidia and Apple and Microsoft. You can have a diversified portfolio. And again, this portfolio might not always outperform the S&P. Let's be real. If we see a pullback with defense, if we see a pullback with things like cybersecurity, which we have seen, you could see some of these popular ETFs now underperform, but at least you're always having that diversification, especially when these things do run like crazy, like we've seen before with SMH, with all of these. Realistically, you have that diversification set up, and you're not only your portfolio doesn't go up or down depending on if the S&P is. You get more diversification. Of course, the major market will always have an impact. Let me know what you think. That's a lot of words thrown at you, but I like PPA for a bit of diversification away from the S&P, and you can still outperform it. I just bought this one, VUG, the Vanguard Growth ETF, and the category is large growth. It's a little bit riskier, but it is Vanguard, so they are cheap, 0.03%, which is absolutely amazing. Now, this one is simply tracking the index of large cap growth stocks. That's what they're going for. It's cheap. The actual price, it looks like it's $83.86. Not too expensive if you don't have fractional shares, which hopefully you would. And you can see VUG versus the benchmark, which is that large cap growth. And they're pretty close. It looks like the benchmark does outperform slightly, but hey, that's all right. VUG is also substantially cheaper than a lot of the other options. It's 0.03 versus average of 0.9, substantially more expensive elsewhere. So when we scroll all the way down, we can see right here, large growth. That's all it is. It's a large in growth. It has 153 holdings, and the median market cap of those holdings is $1.5 trillion. So you've got Tesla, Nvidia, Apple, all of these things plugged in to this ETF, and that's why it's been performing so well. Now you have to remember, on top of that, overlap is key. And again, we'll show that again. It shows sectors, and then here we have the holdings: Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Broadcom. Like, a lot of these companies are just in every single one of these ETFs, so you have to watch out for that. You could be way overinflated with Nvidia, which a lot of investors are, sometimes myself included. If I buy a fund, I'm not checking like I should, seeing the holdings, I'll buy it, realize it's just another Nvidia type fund, and although there can be some other ones in there that will impact that price performance, you always want to do that research. So I hope that made sense. Now we're going to throw all these up and compare them to the S&P 500, and I'm going to prove to you that these are outperforming the S&P 500. I partnered with Stock Analysis to get you 1 month free and then 20% off with my code in the video description. So if you want to be able to have all these powerful research tools at your fingertips when you're looking at what to invest, check it out. They have stocks, they have ETFs, they have screeners, they have articles, they have what's trending, and so on. And so what we have here is all of the funds from this video plugged in. And so we'll go over each individual ones and we can see the performance. Starting off, we have SPY up 180%. And this is the max chart. So when you click max on stock analysis, it gives you the time that all of these ETFs started trading. So you can zoom out even more, but not each of these funds were available at the time. So we're going to go with max to give the fullest, fairest comparison, I should say. So SPY is up 180%, which is really impressive. Like there's nothing to be upset about. That's absolutely amazing. Then we have PPA, which is what our aerospace ETF, that is up 197%, outperforming SPY by 17%. Then we have VUG. And the thing with Vanguard funds is I like them a lot, but they're usually, even when they outperform SPY, they're not insane, right? Like they're not like sector ETFs like SMH or QTUM. But still very impressive. And who's going to complain about outperforming the S&P 500? Then we have SPMO up 260, almost 69%. So we're really outperforming now. What, 80, 90% outperforming the S&P 500 in 3 years is not 3 years, is very, very impressive. This is from 2018. So this is what? Holy smokes, it's 2026 already. So what, 7 years, 8 years? Really, really impressive performance regardless. Then we hit some of these other ones. We have XLK up 363%. QTUM is up 482.5% in this time. Absolutely insane. Outperforming SPY by 200%, 300%. Absolutely insane. Like that's difficult to do. People used to say you could never outperform the S&P 500, but some of these ETFs, they simply do. Now I have to specify, not all of these funds will continue to perform this way. I'm not saying that SMH is going to continue to bring in 900% in the last 7-8 years, but no one truly knows. And that's just absolutely outstanding. SMH, $509. It started substantially cheaper. Let's see, it was $42 and now it's over $500. But if you remember at the beginning of this video, I told you there's a big catch, and there is. When we scroll down, I want to showcase one of the most amazing things about stock analysis. And again, use the discount, get your free month and get your discount. We can see average return, you can see the 1 year, year to date. So SMH is still the best performer year to date. Some of these others are lacking, but still in the green. QTUM, phenomenal. SPMO, XLK, all doing pretty well. Now, what we're looking at here is the top holdings. Let me zoom out slightly. Top holdings for each of these. So you can see SPMO, SMH, and QTUM. You have NVIDIA, Broadcom, MU, NVIDIA, Broadcom, MU, MU. So we do have a little bit of diversification with QTUM. But if we scroll here, we can see the rest of these companies and see they all simply have NVIDIA. PPA does not, which is great. It is a targeted ETF, so it's going to have different holdings, but same thing, VUG, the tech, all of these have crazy overlap. And so you have to be careful that your portfolio doesn't become 25, 30% NVIDIA without you even meaning to. And that's what I think a lot of investors misunderstand. So they'll say, I'm going to hold SPMO, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ 100, SMH, and VUG and be set. You have a crazy allocation to NVIDIA and to, Broadcom, maybe MU, Google, a lot of these companies that are overlapping within all of these ETFs. And that's why a lot of the performances are pretty similar. Of course, we do see pullbacks in the market and some perform better than others in pullbacks. We did see XLK was not the best performer after this pullback, which was in early 2025. It started getting outperformed by QTUM, but that's why you diversify. So the holdings in QTUM were able to outperform, and then SMH, of course, having such a high allocation to companies that did so well is why it's performed like it has. So 26 holdings compared to being diluted with 100, 150, 200 holdings is why this company, why this ETF, I should say, has performed this well. Now, if you guys are interested, again, check out my circle group for more. I'm going to be showcasing all my growth holdings, and I have a new playlist that's going to be dropping on this channel about ETFs that are outperforming the S&P 500 and doing a full breakdown on all of them. So if you're interested in that, don't forget to like the video and to subscribe and drop a comment on each of these ETFs. Tell me what you own, and if you don't own any, tell me what you're buying, because I'm curious what everyone's buying, and you guys already saw what I am buying. So as always, thank you guys so much. If you like this video, you're going to like these that are popping up on your screen right now.